In this episode, I'm talking with life coach Kaye Squire. Kaye came to the show to share a personal story about a time in her life when she felt alone, helpless, and hopeless, and about a pivotal moment that triggered her healing and finding a purpose. If you are at such a low moment where you think you might harm yourself or someone else, stop this video and call 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Help is available. You are not alone. This episode is created for educational purposes. Its main message is that we can all rise and recover if we have someone who just listens. That could be the pivotal moment allowing us to rise, to take back the agency and design your destiny step by step. I know that you are a champion at the Amen University. You are truly a role model for all of us. So I imagine that you probably listened to some of my stuff here.
Mm-hmm.
Probably prepared or maybe over prepared.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Oh, bless you. Yeah, no, I've been cracking through the course, which has been like just wildly exciting. And yes, listening to your episodes. I think from the first time that we had a chat, I've been listening on and off. Yeah, part of my brain health is memory. So that's one of the things I'm working on. So I can watch something and completely get it and try and absorb it, but my recall memory, like, it really struggles sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so it's better than it was, and last year it was really bad. So I've been doing the steps that I need to make that better. But yeah, I was just yesterday. I was listening to your the New Year's Eve, not the New Year's, the New Year one,
Okay.
and yeah, and that was a lovely. It's just a natural flow, and yeah, your guest was really lovely and very insightful, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was lovely.
You're talking about Mara?
Mara, yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I like that myself. I felt very, I don't know, zen or what the word would be, but yes, and my son edited the video and he said that he felt it too. He said there was trust between the two of you and he really, really liked it. And he's a young guy, 23 only, but I think that's the stuff that people resonate with. And I would like our conversation to flow that way because Mara was the person that we jumped on doing lives for the first time when we both were nervous to do it. So I completely
yeah,
understand it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I you said in your letter that you would like to talk about your personal experience and how understanding your brain health risk factors helped you to take care and start healing, take care of yourself and start healing. Would you like to start sharing your experience?
yeah. So I was trying to figure out how best to just describe everything without too much information. Um, but yeah, I think the easiest way to describe, if I go back many years, the easiest way to describe my childhood is with my ACE score. You heard of the ACE test?
I have not, no.
So it's something, so I came across it via Dr. Amon's wife, Tamra, and she talks about it a lot. So ACE is your adverse childhood experience.
Oh, okay.
And there's 10 different questions. And depending on how many questions you score, the higher your score, the more likelihood you'll have issues in your adulthood.
Mm.
So it tallies up your childhood trauma, really. It's not a definite destination. It's just more of a guideline. And I think they say that positive experiences and my brain memory's gone.
Oh, don't worry, because I can cut out those parts where you sound like, don't worry about that at all. Yeah, no pressure.
You know,
Yeah, go ahead.
positive experience and personal resilience can like buffer the impact of those childhood traumas. So my ACE score is a 9, potentially 10, but I'm not sure on the last question because it's not information I know. So I have a very high ACE score because there were lots of physical, emotional, sexual abuse in my childhood. There was neglect. A relative went to prison. My parents got divorced. You know, there was a lot going on before the age of 18. Um, so, yeah, so that really has impacted my adulthood. But I think from a young age, I learned resilience. And I did have at least one positive relationship with a family member, which, you know, for me, I feel really did help buffer the negatives that were going on. But yeah, so then those early years really impacted the relationships I then went on to having in my adulthood. So my romantic relationships. So I went into one romantic relationship which was very unhealthy and abusive, was in that for 4 or 5 years. That then went into another relationship which was unhealthy and, you know, quite stressful. And then I think last year, the beginning of last year, I left my then partner after having quite a stressful and unhealthy couple of years with him. And it was then, the beginning of last year, that I really, really started to pay attention to my mental health and my overall well-being. It's something that I've always, because I've always, especially from a young age, I've always had on and off like issues with depression and anxiety, which is quite a natural response when you've got such a stressful life being handed to you. And yeah, and I think I'm getting all like lost now, going from A to B.
No, Kaye Squire, welcome to She Became CEO. And you are truly the CEO of your voice. I got chills as you were talking right now. And I want to say thank you for your courage and responding to my email by saying that you are willing to share your personal story instead of marketing something, but to really share your personal story, because it takes a lot of courage. And what you just summarized, saying that you scored 9, potentially 10, I feel it in my flesh and in my bones how much it probably took for you to be able to say what you just said. So I want to honor that at this moment, and for you to understand what you just did. It's amazing.
um, I think for a long time, I didn't open up about my story and I purposely didn't share it with people. But yet I found personal strength through hearing other people's story. following people on social media, knowing that there are others that go through similar things, and actually there are things you can do, and there is a better life ahead. And yeah, I think it's taken a long time for me to get to a more comfortable place to share my story. And yeah, I feel, um, I feel it's important to share my story. So then, even if I just reach that one person, I hope, I really hope that I can just help shine a light and to show them that they are really not alone. They might feel lonely, but they are not alone, and there is a way out, and there is a better path ahead for sure. But yeah, bless you. Thank you.
That is true. What do you think? What would be the audience that would resonate the most with your message?
That's something I've been trying to really think about, because my my experience, whether it was suicide attempt in my early 20s or memory issues as I grow older because of all the different risk factors that I've been through. Um, but also as a single parent raising a young one, I really want to try and help children as well. So kind of a mixture, really. I think suicide prevention is really close to my heart, mental health issues, and realizing that their brain health, like the function of our brain, is likely more the issue. Um, but that's not to say that therapy, that still has its place, of course. Um, but yeah, a memory like dementia, people don't need to suffer. My granddad had Alzheimer's and my gran had Parkinson's, and it's in the family. I'm watching my mum slowly decline, and I really hope that she'll take some advice one day. But so dementia and preventing suffering that goes on, like the needless suffering that goes on with older people. And I think there was a statistic that said like there's 55 million people globally suffering with dementia.
Yeah.
And I think like 71,000 of those are the young onset dementia, like below the age of 65. And, I think most people have heard these days that Alzheimer's and dementia can be prevented and recognized on brain scans like decades before it's diagnosed. So why wouldn't you, try and help yourself live healthier, especially if we are living longer?
Yeah,
But yeah.
that is so true. I also heard some of the statistics, and what I heard was that every third person who will live till 85 or beyond will have Alzheimer's or dementia.
Yeah. That's a scary figure, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, that is. Unfortunately, younger folks, when we are younger, this message often doesn't resonate with them.
Mhm.
And I'm not talking about all people, but yeah, somehow we don't connect those dots. But I would like to go back to some of those points when I asked you about the potential audience that you think who your message would resonate the most. And I would like to pick one that you mentioned about people who have suicidal thoughts, because you said you did. do you think at this point you're ready to share about that moment when you had those thoughts and what made you pivot? What was that thing that prevented you from taking that route? And how you even got to that place?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was definitely, out of all the things that I've experienced, that was definitely one of the lowest. Um, so I I was in a abusive relationship, and I somehow, don't ask me how, I don't know, but I somehow got the courage to leave him. And I was determined not to carry on and to go back and to go through that cycle. Getting croaky. um, so so then I was alone for the first time, like living alone for the first time ever. Um, I had family nearby, but they weren't hugely supportive. They didn't really understand. Um, and the details of my relationship, I didn't really share. So, why would they understand? I don't blame them for that. Um, so I was just very alone and very depressed, very anxious, very, just lonely, I think was the really heartbreaking thing. And I was so lonely that I was wanting to go back to that horrendous, like stressful relationship, at the same time knowing that I didn't. Um, and yeah, I spent a day. I was I was on medication for depression. I was having therapy for what was going on in my head and things. So I was doing all the right things as the typical standard path tells you to do. And I wasn't feeling any better. The medication didn't make me feel any better. It just it just didn't work for me. And yeah, so then I got to this one day where I was just desperately reaching out to people. And each time that I reached out, and reaching out was a really hard thing for me to do.
Yeah.
Like I think it is for a lot of women.
Yeah.
So yeah, but each time I reached out, it was just, there was no one there, like no one emotionally there for me. And it was just one kick after another. And yeah, I was just so low. So I took all the medication that I had in the house, and I just took it all, just hoping. I didn't research it. It wasn't something, long planned as much as I, had feelings previously. It wasn't a planned thing per se. It was just, I cannot, I just gave up. I could not take the emotional pain of life. That, yeah, I just took all the pills that I had in the house, and yeah, and tried to do it that way. Um, and I don't know, like, the time frames and things, but it was actually my sister that, uh, while the pills were doing something inside of me, I was laying on the bed and I really wasn't feeling well, and I was all kind of, foggy and things. Um, and it was my sister that actually phoned, and her and I relationship has been rocky on and off, like ever since we were little. So it was surprising that it would be her that phoned, and it would just happened. It was just out of the blue, and I wasn't expecting it. And I clearly wasn't speaking right on the phone to her. So she came over, took me to hospital, and I went through all of that. Um, but yeah, and then from there, I just it just flipped a switch. Like, how could I be that desperate for people to want me, for people to care for me, to feel emotionally connected to just someone like on this planet? And I just didn't feel I had one person. Um, so yeah, so after that experience, I just I stopped taking medication because it wasn't helping. The therapy wasn't helping. So I discussed about maybe taking a break and coming back to it if I really needed to. Um, and I focused more on self-help. Um, and so I started eating organically. I cleaned up my eating. I started um, like positive thinking. It's, positive thinking, I think for a lot of people, it sounds a bit wishy-washy, and maybe you're just putting a band-aid on something that shouldn't be. Um, but I think over the years, I've come to realize it's really not just like push it under the carpet kind of thing. It really is a neuroplasticity. You start thinking positively, you look at it from a different angle, you still deal with the issues and the stress, but if you just come at it from a more positive angle, then you start to build even more resilience to those kind of things. um, and then yeah, I just started focusing on the relationships that felt good. So I spent more time with my grandparents because they made me feel good, and they seemed to appreciate my company, and it just worked. And I'm so deeply grateful for my grandparents because they're some of my favorite people that have ever been on the planet. And yeah, it's just since then it's just gone on, and I just continued to have a look, research into that more holistic way of living, whether it's meditation, I say more natural, whole food, organics, um, just a cleaner living. And yeah, I think over the years it just built up and up and up, where I've just healed, albeit slowly, but I've very much a different person. And I think with this course that we're learning from Daniel Amen, and just I'm learning that science now, and learning the science behind the things that I've practiced and that I've known or that I've heard of, and having that science is just, yeah, it's helping me for sure to like just get even clearer on what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, better decisions. Yeah, it's making a big difference.
Kay, I intentionally didn't design the flow for this interview because sometimes I do. And sometimes I feel into what that person wrote to me or said to me, and I go with the flow. And with you, knowing that this would probably be your first or maybe the second interview where you're guesting, I thought I would just allow you to share the story the way you feel you need to share it. But I did think of one question that I thought I would ask you, and I think this is the right moment to ask it to you. I was not even sure if I would, but I think this is the right moment. And that question is, do you believe in miracles?
That's an interesting question. It's funny. I was just talking to my daughter um, last night about wishes and the magic of wishes, and so like, that's what that reminds me of. Um, Gosh, that's a good question. I think I want to say yes and no, because yes, because I think miracles or wishes, for me, there's something that if your heart and your soul really wants or really needs something, then it's going to find a way of going out there and, making you find it, making you work for it, making you go get it. So I think in that sense, where unconsciously we create our own wishes, like we create our own dreams that come true. Some, require much more work than others to get to what we're after. Um, yeah, so I think in that sense, I do, that just the unconscious, that magical, electrical, soulful part that's the deepest inside us, I think it knows how to get there. And then we just have to listen. We have to listen to our bodies and to our intuition, figure out, okay, I'm going to go make that wish or that miracle happen. Yeah.
Because now you also define the miracle, and I was thinking what I heard that I thought was a miracle was that moment where you had taken all the medications that you had at home, and then your sister called. And I was thinking, is that a coincidence? Is that a miracle? And I don't know. My answer probably would be similar to yours, that yes and no. Because when there is something that happens seemingly by chance, by accident, my brain tries to rationalize it and explain it. And this is what I heard in your narrative, where you started talking about after that miraculous event, you started to think what to do and how to understand yourself and how to understand your brain. In a way, I think we maybe kill miracles by trying to explain.
Yeah,
But
push it our own way. Yeah, for sure.
but Dr. Daniel Amen, that we learned from, he talks about faith and the importance of faith. What do you think about it?
So for me, I don't I don't believe in any particular like religion. But yet for me, I think I'm more spiritual. So I believe in nature,
Yeah. Yeah.
if you can understand that. Um, yeah, I believe in nature. I believe in just the complexity, but yet the simpleness of how like the universe just goes about creating and changing, um, the power that's all within there. And sometimes that power is kind and gentle, and sometimes it's, rough and scary. So yeah, so for me, I would say I'm more kind of spiritual, and yeah, nature is definitely how I kind of, sense things.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. And when I talk with people who are deeply religious, even I would say, in my mind, I try to understand how to how we are speaking the same language, sort of in the same concepts, but in a different language, and how we can understand each other, even though our beliefs are seemingly different. I don't know if I articulated well enough. But on this note, I would like you to reason further. Why do you think we need to fall so deeply to start changing our lives? Why do we need that pivotal moment that often is so painful.
I think it's just our survival mechanism. And for I think for a lot of people, even though it's hidden behind doors, for a lot of people, um, we go through some really difficult times in our lives. And if you're lucky enough to get through childhood without too much worry, then, I think most people experience depression at some point in their life. Um, so, yeah, whether it's childhood issues or adulthood issues, I think it comes down to survival. Like our bodies are organic matter, and just like plants, they want to survive. They'll find a crack and there's a bit of sunshine and they'll reach for it, even if it's really difficult to thrive as a whole. It will still try, and I think we're very much like that. Um, Again, I think it's a lot with the subconscious. I don't I don't know a huge amount about psychology, although I'm very interested in it. Um, yeah, I think just subconsciously in those deeper parts of our brain, we're just wired to keep surviving. And when 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 we hit rock bottom, and I don't think all of us need to get to the bottom, like to the deep, like they don't need to scrape that far down. I think some people, their switch is higher up. Um, so it doesn't take as much for them to like go, okay, I'm going to change this. Um, but yeah, I think potentially in my experience, from what I hear from people, I think for women in particular, if I, can generalize, um, I think for generations we've been taught to compromise and keep, quiet and to people please and to do all those things. So yeah, I think it does take a lot more for us to go, okay, something needs to change. So we end up hitting rock bottom. We're more likely to get to that point before change happens because of our wiring. Um, but then, yeah, as I say, it's the survival, that deep ancient part in our minds that kicks into gear and goes, well, actually, you need to change something. And I think we're lucky in today's world that even though there is a lot of information out there, all over the internet, and a lot of it's confusing and everyone's saying something different, I think we are really lucky, and especially with the Amen clinics, there's so much evidence that now is showing us that this A, B, and C, the bright minds approach that we've been learning about, it all has hundreds of thousands of scans and evidence and information behind it to literally give us that roadmap of this is how you can change. Where I think in previous years it's been a bit more blurry and a bit more murky. So yeah, so it's exciting. I think. I think it's exciting to be where we are at the moment with the information we have. Yeah, because I think we can really make a big difference.
Yes. Now, let me summarize and make sure that I understood what you meant by when you said survival instinct. And when I asked, why do we need to fall down and touch the rock bottom? Are you saying that women in particular, but it can apply to males as well, men, that we do not articulate what is not right for us in order to survive? In other words, that we at some point we stop feeling safe to tell the world that this doesn't work for me. Was that what you were trying to communicate?
Yeah, and I think especially for girls, that comes quite early on,
Yeah.
where we're taught not to be dramatic and not to be too sensitive. We're taught to put up with a lot that we probably shouldn't. And I didn't like the word shouldn't, but you know what I mean? It's,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think, yeah, from a young age, I think for girls, a lot of us have been raised to quieten the parts of us that make us us and that make us thrive. Um, so yeah, yes.
Yes. And then that creates trauma. And I have been talking about different types of trauma. And the more we carry on this thing, it's the chronic trauma. And trauma always changes the brain.
Yeah.
And we know now that the trauma shows in brain scans
Mm-hmm.
and literally physically affects our brain. And to heal it, we sometimes we can do it not just with words, but even taking care of our bodies. That might be a triggering moment, and it totally makes sense how you started um, eating more holistically and searching for ways to heal your trauma by healing your body. You said in your letter that you are a brain coach, but you also mentioned the word specialized or specialty. What is that area that you are specializing in?
So I think most people are familiar with life coach as more of the general kind of phrase. So yeah, it's just my way of explaining that brain health coach is similar to a life coach because we learn and we support people with lifestyle choices to help make life better or easier or more clarity or better memory, those kind of things. But you're specializing in the brain function. Like if our brains function better, then we feel and we think better. Our decisions become easier. We make better decisions. Our relationships become better. Like life in general then becomes better if we focus on like the function of our brain. Um, yeah, and I was listening to was it Dr. Mark Hyman, and he was saying that trauma affects the genes, like in the epigenetics thing. I won't go too much into it because I
Yeah.
won't. Yeah, I'm not an expert, but he was saying that the trauma affects the genes, which then triggers the genes into things like the memory loss and other brain health dysfunctions. So it all kind of really does interconnect, and yeah, we're learning that simple, gentle lifestyle habits, like just these little micro moments, like done consistently, can really change the brain function. And I think for most people, that can make a huge impact on their life and their happiness and their relationships and their work and their wealth and like all of that, which is really exciting. And just it's fun for me to experience that and to teach that to my daughter. Um, and yeah, it's just exciting to then support people that want to go down that path and, do those consistent little things that help. Yeah, it's exciting.
Absolutely. And what are those little things that you have started doing? What are your daily routines that you consciously do to support your brain health, your mental health, and your overall being?
So last year, so there's the brain health assessment on the Brain MD website, and I've taken that assessment twice last year. So they give you like a brain type, and then from that brain type, they can help you suggest things and recommend things. So for me personally, I have brain type 1, which was great news.
Me too.
Um, but, so in their words, I have a balanced brain. Um, but yet there are areas like sleep and my memory. My
Yeah,
sleep and
same too.
memory
Yeah.
are my two things that I have to work on. Um, so the lifestyle habits that I do, if I so at bedtime, I start at bedtime. So at bedtime, when I'm doing my daughter's bedtime routine, we do like a gratitude thing. So we just casually talk about what went good today. So we notice the positives. We talk about what we're grateful for, what we're thankful for. And sometimes it's just like really small things, like I'm really grateful I'm warm, when it's -5 outside, you know. Um, and and then when I go to bed, you know, all the electronics are off. There's no screen time. A good hour or so before. I haven't eaten after like 5 o'clock, so there's that intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
Um, I listen to a meditation. So I use an app called Insight Timer. It's just a free app, and there's some really great deep sleep meditations on there. And I noticed that when I listen to those meditations, my quality of sleep is just really wonderful, and I wake up and I feel at least a bit rested. Like sleep has always been an issue for me. So when I don't do the meditation, I notice the difference. I do wake up and it's more of a struggle. Um, so I do the meditation. I have a little sleep mask because my room's not pitch black. Um, and then when we wake up again, we wake up with enough time to actually enjoy each other. We have a slow and gentle morning, and we spend a good 10 or 20 minutes. And the first thing we do is just giggle. You know,
Mm.
we might talk about something um, that my daughter's dreamt of, or if she's nervous about something, and we'll have a more serious talk. But usually there'll be a funny bit in her dream that she wants to talk about, or she just wants to play. So we'll just play and have fun. And then we'll quickly just be like, well, what are we going to look forward to? And we bring that positive before we start to get going. Um, so that's a kind of evening and morning, like around the sleep thing, which is really crucial for me. That's been, I think for both of us, that's been a big change, positive change. Um, and then with food and diet throughout the day, for me, high protein diet and less carbs has been amazing, especially this last year. Um, yeah, so I don't eat regular bread. I rarely have pasta nowadays, and if I do, it's organic wholemeal. Um, and I eat more protein. I'm not a huge fan on animal meat, but I will have like eggs and things like that. Um, so that's been a big change for me, and I've noticed a big difference, especially with my brain fog. Like last year, my memory was terrible, and my brain fog was just awful. And my mind now is just so much clearer. And yeah, clearer. It's working better for sure. I feel it. Um, and I do a lot more walking as well nowadays. Um, so I probably do about 5 or 7 miles a day, Monday to Friday. The weekends are less because we're playing at home more often. But yeah, on a weekday, it's normally, quite a few miles in between getting everything else done. But it's really walking is, it's free, and we're lucky that we've got some beautiful wild, nature on our doorstep, and we're lucky to have the fresh air and to have nature and to listen. And I go for a walk and I just listen and I notice. So I'm very intentional and mindful when I walk. And that, you finish a walk and you feel great, and you're just completely cleared. And then you can sit down and crack on with work or whatever may be ahead of me. But yeah, and reading, another thing would be reading books, but physical books. So
Yeah.
I used to listen a lot to audiobooks.
Yeah.
Or if I was out and about, I would, read a book on my phone. And I thought I was doing great because, I'm learning or I'm listening to something. But actually, I found going back to physical books, I'm enjoying it much more.
Mm.
And it's like my brain's now hungry for reading, which it's never been before. So that kind of new learning in that sense has been, wonderful. Yeah, there are lots of things.
There are lots of things, and you said several things that were so rich in, I don't know, less a life lesson or so to say. But one I will mention that Dr. Amen says is that you are not stuck with the brain that you have,
Mhm.
because you just articulated how you noticed real changes because you practiced all those little habits. And then the other thing was, I was thinking it was wonderful that you shared about how those routines that you have together with your daughter, because I know that we regulate each other. And
Mhm.
you're just such a wonderful mother because you're creating this safety for your daughter so that she can fall asleep feeling safe,
Mhm.
feeling supported, feeling seen, heard. Isn't that what we all need?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
then waking up and sharing your dreams and giggling. When I have worked with my coaching clients, I have done this laughter. I don't know, I would if I would say therapy, but I would say just laughing sessions. We would just try to laugh for a while. And yeah, it changes energy. Okay, this is the first interview that we had, and I don't want to impose on you any longer. I definitely want to have you back at some point, and we would probably talk more deeply. But before we close off today, what is one thing that you would like my audience to take away from your experience and maybe from this conversation?
Gosh, I think, yeah, definitely that you're not stuck with the life that you're experiencing at this moment. And if you're drowning in the depths of despair or just simply craving like more ease to life, then there are definitely gentle, consistent changes that you can do for your brain's health. And that can just transform how you live and how you feel. Like, yeah.
Yes. And do you accept clients right now as a coach?
At this particular moment at recording, not just yet,
Yeah.
at the end of February.
And if people wanted to follow you, do you have accounts on any social media?
Yeah, so you can find me mostly on Instagram at
Mhm.
Kaye Squire at Brain Health.
All right. Thank you for this conversation. Thank you for your courage.
Oh, bless you. Thank you for your time and thank you for the invitation. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next week on our call.
This conversation with Kaye Squire touched me deeply because I know what it feels like when you ask for help and not only you are not heard, but being a victim, you're even blamed. That happened to me, and that's the reason why I disappeared from social media for several years. But now I'm back and I have resumed my coaching practice, and I coach not only around business, but I also provide brain health aware and trauma aware life coaching, and I accept private clients. Of course, my time is limited, like everybody else's, so always check if there's availability, and I will leave the contact information in the show notes or somewhere around this video.